Hi, my name is Jerome Ng, and I'm an architectural designer. This is episode 3 of Get to Know You series. So the first project that I'm trying to show is actually the Beckham Hospice care home. I'm not going to go through the intricacies of all the design and how I work through it, the processes, but I think I'm just going to show you some exciting part of the project, which is actually the last part, right? The last part where how I create the drawings itself. During this 3 years in the Butler School of Architecture, I haven't touched a computer at all. So everything was hand-drawn. Everything was analog. So you can see, right, a lot of these drawings are actually hand-drawn, hand-colored, and then using a scale ruler, which I think a lot of you guys have not tried it, the new ones, using a scale ruler to kind of measure and then just extrude from there. Some of the drawings were actually based off on the model, right? So I did the model first, and then I kind of take photos from this angle, and that's when you get this drawing here. So I took a photo of the model and I drew over the model and then added details to it. There's another interesting part about this model is that during the time when I was working on this model, a lot of these things are able to move, right? A lot of these rooms, modular units, modular walls are able to move around, but because it's being exhibited in the Royal Academy, so I had to fix it down. But if you guys were to take a closer look, you can actually see things moving. So wait, let me try to find, here you go. You can see that the table is able to move in and up and down. Right? You're able to see that the periscope here is able to be moved and you're able to be extended. Things like that. Utilizing this method, to try to focus on what's more important, that's when I added colors to things that I want to feature in my drawing. But things that are not that important, I'll leave it black and white, right? So this is the outcome of it. So you don't actually color every single thing, because if you color every single thing, you're going to be muddled. Your drawing just going to be muddled with colors. But there's a funny story about this, was that during the time when I was doing my colors selection for the drawing, my tutors, during that time my tutors, Christine Hawley and Paolo Zaider, they said that I'm colorblind. They said that my colors are really bad. And they said I'm colorblind and I have to go back and re-edit the colors. The colorblind part is actually this part here. So when I re-edit it, I have to go through different series of changes, trying to see what colors matches, of course looking at complementary colors. So a lot of the times actually I realized after a while you need to put in a lot of effort, you need to keep making changes. So it's okay to make mistakes, I feel. You just need to go back and persevere and just keep doing the changes. But after a while I realized that how I utilize colors is when there are very strong colors, I actually add it into small little parts, small little areas. The bigger areas, then I'll utilize more desaturate and more muted colors. One of the projects that I didn't use Rhino, and I just literally just hand draw everything, was one of the aggregated projects that I was working on for Mongkok. So you can see that all these are modular units, and how then you kind of aggregate them and then just create this tall building itself. But a lot of these are all hand drawn. I didn't even utilize Rhino or 3D software to play around with it. So everything was using the plan that I have in that stack. Using the plan and then tilting it 45 degrees and then extruding it out. So even the section cuts as well is all hand drawn. So none of these are actually digitally Rhinoed or 3D modeled. During the fourth year, that's when I started using Rhino. And it was really a tough time because I'm trying to use Rhino and trying to master Rhino at the same time trying to design a project. So during this time, it was a transitional period. So you can see a few hand drawings and a few Rhino models. So of course, being in the more in the safe zone, I hand draw my plans first. So the plans itself, they're all hand drawn, right? They're all hand drawn. And then I was forced to use Rhino because I forced myself, and then that's when I started to model all the units one by one, right? I model all the units one by one, starting with the easiest, following on with the hardest at the end. And of course, the more intricate ones over here. So this project is called the OES of Memories. So this project is actually situated in Estonia, Tallinn. And during the time, in the pilot education, we get to travel, every year we get to travel to a place, and that place is basically where our site will be, where our project site will be. So during this year, my project site is in Estonia, and I'm actually very fascinated by ruins, and how I can kind of conserve ruins, because I'm always interested in this idea of the patina of time that is being registered on all these ruins and all these demolished buildings itself. So, and for this project called the OES of Memories, I actually situated a neurological research center that is being embedded into this project, into this site. But what's more important about this project is actually basically how I then utilize both digital and analog tool and kind of create my own unique take on a final drawing or a unique take on a visual representation. And this was one of it, right? So you can see part of it is being Rhino, part of it is being hand-drawn. Yeah. One of the other projects that I'm going to show is actually the Golden complex one. And the title is actually a Metabolis Regeneration of a Dimensionation. So there's something, okay, normally people ask me why am I working on Golden complex? And during that time I was in UK, so I didn't even get a chance to come back to Singapore. But when I was in UK, when I was in London, and then I heard that the Pearl Bank apartment has been demolished. The next to go is actually Golden complex. So then I was thinking that, I have a lot of affinity with Golden complex because I grew up playing in Golden complex as well. I have friends in Golden complex, and I do visit them when I was really young. So Golden complex has a certain charm about it for me, and I don't really want to see it go away. So when I was working on this project, a lot of my friends was saying, why Jerome, why are you working on this project? Because anyways, in Singapore, change is the only constant, and you cannot stop, you cannot really stop this kind of change. So when I heard this from my Singaporean friends who have never traveled overseas or really go overseas, then I realized that it's actually quite sad that we Singaporeans are forgetting our roots. Therefore, I make even more commitment that I need to persevere on this project and just work through it. Therefore, the title is called Metabolis Regeneration of a Dimensionation. A dimensionation not in the sense of a physical dimension, but more like a metaphorical dimension, like how we Singaporeans, we forget where we come from, our roots. And all these buildings and all these landmarks actually form a history of Singapore. And when you were to demolish all this history and all these landmarks, we are then, some of us Singaporeans who are more attached to this kind of history or historical landmarks, we tend to have this sense of loss or disorientation, especially for me when I come back from UK after like 1 year or 2 years, everything starts to change around Singapore. So sometimes I even get lost in my own country. So when I was working on this project, right, usually in a lot of my design projects, I always start off with a narrative-driven approach. So how do I drive the narrative? I always drive the narrative first in my design, then after that, work around it. So I kind of trust the process. So using narrative to weave and kind of thread through the design itself. So one of the drawings that I was working on is actually this. It's called the Memory Haven. So basically, it's very simple, right? It's very simple. It's basically a drawing of a dementia village where all forgotten memories and demolished buildings are being rebuilt and redeveloped in this bubble. So if you were to see this drawing itself, right, it's actually a sectional cut. The sectional cut is basically here, and then at the back is actually the demolished buildings. So the sectional cut is here, and then whatever that's on the extreme left, they are actually the projects that are, whatever that's on the extreme left, they are basically the advancement into the future world. Basically, this drawing is trying to show that it's just like a sample size of Singapore where all the repository of memories and ideas and concepts that we have about conservation is being embedded and being conserved within this village itself. So the best time in your architectural industry or is basically the education part. When you're in school, that's actually the best time. When I'm actually out of school, then how I kind of adopt my education into my practice, I think that's one thing that I'm struggling as well, and I'm trying to trying to streamline my processes. So, but now and then I will have fun projects. I have fun projects. I have drawing projects. So one of the projects are basically like if I was tasked to create a drawing for a magazine, which is basically Wired UK. So it's basically a city, and then basically a sustainable city, and then I hand drawn it, and then translate it into the colored version. So if you guys are interested, I can sell this as a print, but I don't know. Okay, so there are also other projects, like for example the St. James Power Station one. Basically, it's just a sectional drawing of St. James Power Station, and then we kind of understand what the historical aspect of it, and then try to infuse and combine speculative research on St. James Power Station and what it could be in the future if it's not a Dyson space right now. And of course, all these drawings are basically, they are the raw drawings that I actually use my pencil to draw first before translating into the digital format. For me, if you look at the range of work that I have, I'm also a very strong believer in storytelling. How you can imagine and speculate different scenes and narrative, and kind of infuse into the project as well. So such that a lot of this project actually traverse the realms of architecture and material craft. And normally, some of the works that is featured today, you will see that I tend to adopt both digital and analog tools, so that you can kind of interrogate the different built environments and different urban tectonics, right? So that there is this, how do I say this? And so that what I'm trying to do is trying to review and tease this narrative indication within nascent spaces in different projects. Why do I start a practice or collective? Why I call it collective, because I really value relationships, and I value how people come together and collaborate and work together as a team. So to me, that's quite valuable. And why do I start a practice was because I didn't want to work a 9-to-5 job, right? I didn't want to work a 9-to-5 job. But then in the end, I'm working 24/7. So this was one of the challenges, or how I'm going to balance work-life in my lifestyle, in my current lifestyle. But I realized that a lot of the times, passion is just not enough. You need to be obsessed with certain details or certain things in life to then kind of pull you forward into the decision that you make or even into the projects that you're working on. And through these obsessions, then I'm able to persevere on and just work through it. I'm Jerome Ng, and thanks for getting to know me.